You basically just did a warm-up show with the morning show, so we'll get into all that. We've got Rage and Sal coming up later on in the show. Sal and I are going to face our fears later on in the show together, holding hands, walking into the fire. We'll get it to everything will make sense in just a little bit. But, Sal, we got to start with the Yankees because they went to one of the most boring, maybe stale teams where there was no faith, especially coming from the fan base, that they were going to be able to do anything this year. And now, after 3 games, and I know it's the Marlins, but, the Marlins actually have decent pitching, so I think you can actually take a lot from that series. They are now exciting. They're compelling. Whether it changes the final outlook of them being a World Series winner or not, I'm way more interested to see how the rest of this season shakes out for the Yankees than I was 3 days ago. The fact that Anthony Rizzo has come in and been as effective as he has, 5 for 9, 2 home runs, 3 walks, the defense at first, it's like he has just infused everybody on that infield and on this team just with a big shot of B12. Judge is getting better pitches because Rizzo is behind him for 2 out of the 3 games. You can bat him lead off. Okay. The guy's versatile. And oh, by the way, Joey Gallo, no slouch himself. I mean, not the offensive production that Rizzo has had in the first 3 games, but his athleticism, how he's running the bases, how he's playing in the outfield. And oh, by the way, a guy who we really didn't know too much about in Clay Holmes has not given up a run yet coming out of the bullpen. It's not just like how they played and sweeping the Marlins. It's how it looks and feels. This team is interesting again. And oh, by the way, they're in it again.
What a difference a Rizzo makes. I mean, now look, there are still some issues with this ball club. Even with the offense, it drives you nuts. Not getting enough hits in the clutch. They should really smoke the Marlins as opposed to taking advantage of some of the mistakes that the Marlins make. But Rizzo has, Maggie, that's why when that trade was made, with Joey Gallo, it was a little different, right? Because that trade was, all right, whatever. It makes him better a little bit, but it's not going to change anything. Once Rizzo was official. Now you're talking about next level stuff because you're adding a legitimate star player, and it didn't take long for everybody to see that. The guy walks right in like he belongs. Right now, he's the best player on the team. I mean, we could talk about Aaron Judge and what he's done this year and what he's done historically with the Yankees. Right now, Rizzo with the defense at first base, which is Gold Glove caliber, the offense, clutch hits, big homers. He's going to fit right in here even better than you would have expected, and it makes the Yankees legitimate contenders. Not to mention their schedule is soft, and hey, you can only play who you play, but they've gone through a difficult stretch, and now you look at it, the Marlins they took advantage of, the Orioles coming up, the Royals, or the Mariners. This is where the Yankees could all of a sudden go on one of those typical Yankee 13-3 runs and gain ground, and they already are gaining ground in the American League East. There are only 6 back in the loss column of Tampa, 4 back of the loss column from Boston. It's not unrealistic to sit here and say the Yankees can make a run, and to your point, it makes it much more interesting because regular seasons for the Yankees usually don't mean anything. It's wake me up in October. This year, for the wrong reasons, it's been about the regular season, and now, for the right reasons, with the addition of Rizzo, it changes the entire feel, and there's excitement around
See,
him.
that was what I thought kind of was the problem with the Yankees, where you really just couldn't put your finger on like why they were underachieving, because at times they're winning games, but just never felt right. And I thought a lot of that was because they were taking the regular season for granted. It was almost like, all right, we know what the story is on us. We know the book is out on us that we have not gotten to a World Series with these baby bombers. So can we just fast forward and just get to the playoffs as soon as possible so that we can prove everybody wrong? Oh, wait a minute, you got to play 162 before you get there, and it just never felt like they really locked in. You could tell by the way they were dropping series finales to teams that were they were inferior to them, quite frankly, and they just couldn't get it done. And so this, I think, infuses just that life about the rest of the regular season and not taking that for granted. And you have a guy in Rizzo who's obviously has postseason experience, of course, winning a World Series with the Cubs. I think it just got everyone kind of locked in and dialed in. Not to mention just like, we can talk about the defense. We kind of like throw it in. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. You're talking about run prevention. It's only going to get more difficult from here on out, especially when you get to the postseason. It's about pitching and defense. Well, the Yankees didn't have the defense. And now they are shored up in that area. And then, of course, the lefty bat. I mean, to look at a Yankees lineup and see it go lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. It's like I didn't even think it could exist in the way that it has and how they got the 2 best lefty bats on the market. And just the immediate impact. They're so much harder to pitch to now. Pitchers are just, except for the ace in Sandy Alcantara yesterday, which the Yankees had a great game plan. Alcantara could be an ace on almost any team in Major League Baseball. So what do? They had to bide their time, try to get good at bats, and then as soon as the bullpen comes in, they're able to strike. Okay, a couple defensive lapses let the Yankees in yesterday, but the point remains. They had a great game plan, and they're able to execute it because this team isn't all righties.
I think, look, that sounds nice, and you talk about the lefty balance. And I know Yankee fans have been calling about, we need lefties. No, you don't need lefties. You need good hitters. Simple as I don't care if they're lefty, if they're righty. Rizzo happens to be a terrific hitter who's a lefty, so it fits in naturally, and I do like that balance. But I think the best point that you made right there was when you have a team that makes the playoffs every single year and has failed to achieve the ultimate goal, getting to a World Series, winning a World Series, maybe they do become kind of bored with it. And they may not think that, but we kind of felt it, which is why I thought going into this season, they kind of need to make one change. I mean, look, I'd love to get rid of Stanton. That's not realistic. So the one guy would be maybe Luke Voit, just move him and kind of add some new blood. And then we saw it play out. And that is exactly what was playing out. It was boring. They were stale. They needed some kind of change. They forgot that they were the New York Yankees. And you've even now heard Aaron Judge come out and say, we're the Yankees. This is what we do. It feels like we're the Yankees again. Yeah, one move to get a superstar player, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. It reminds you what they did with that move with both Gallo and Rizzo. What the Yankees did was remind everybody, including the guys in that clubhouse, we're the New York Yankees. This is what we do. And it kind of infused new blood in that stale lineup and woke them up again. And hopefully, they could go out there and make a legit run. And I don't think it's certainly not mathematically impossible. And you look at it, the Red Sox have come back down. They have a shot here where it's not just about chasing the A's all of a sudden. They can really get back into the thick of things with this new blow with Rizzo.
So that's, I think, where you're going to get the split from Yankee fans. The expectations now, have they changed with what the Yankees did at the deadline? Because I still think you're going to get a lot of Yankee, I don't want to say hardliners, but people who saw that this team is flawed and that this team maybe doesn't have it this year. People who called us up advocating for them to be sellers. I don't know what they had to sell, but advocating for them to be sellers and that this isn't it. They want Cashman fired. They want Boone fired. This doesn't matter, and I just can't wait until, they just take a torch to the analytics department and bring Buck Showalter back and, everything will be great again. And then I think there's the Yankee fan that was always kind of holding out hope. As frustrating as it was, believing that the talent in that clubhouse was actually good enough to not just make a run into the postseason. And even if they sneak in, okay, but now you're in. And now anything can happen, even if you have to start a wild card game on the road. So I'm curious from the Yankee fan. I know 3 games is only 3 games, but it has looked different. And you can't deny that. As Sal said, even Aaron Boone, Aaron Judge have told you that it feels different. It started to feel a little different when the AAA guys came up. We knew that wasn't sustainable. Now they added stars. That does feel sustainable. Are you sold? Have your expectations changed?
They do still, by the way, it's always going to come down to the same thing. We can talk about it with the Mets or the Yankees. They need the guys that are there that are expected to produce. If Gleyber Torres doesn't hit, if Gary Sanchez doesn't hit, if Giancarlo Stanton doesn't hit, or Aaron Judge or LeMahieu, doesn't matter that they added Rizzo or Gallo. They need those guys to produce. The difference is they have them there. So it's not like they have to go out there and get more. They have them. They just need them to do what's expected. So you hope that Rizzo and Gallo can inject some new life, which we haven't seen it play. And look, we could talk about the bullpen, which seems to have rightened itself out a little bit. But we could talk about that being a potential issue. We could talk about Garrett Cole being a potential issue or behind Garrett Cole.
He got like a pass for a week because of all the stuff that happened at the deadline. I feel like we didn't talk about Garrett Cole's clunker.
Right. And the start with Houston was one of the great pitching performances that we've seen. So he proved that he could do it after Spider Tag, but then going off again and the start against
Red Sox game.
But he would be, it's not like Garrett Cole locked down #1 starter in the postseason. You think he's going to, now he has done it. He could do it. But do you trust that right now if you're a Yankee fan? So there are still some issues, but it does feel different with this ball club. And it was a necessary addition to change the entire field. We've been begging for it. We've been screaming for it. And they finally did it. And look, it feels different here. And they're going to get fat off of these lousy teams. And that's no shame.
That's a normal Yankee season.
That's what they do in the regular season. And then it's going to become about, okay, well, assuming that we get there, can this group get to the next level? That's something that has yet to be proven. And I'm not so sure I would say that they could, even with Rizzo. But at least we have something to look forward to.
Speaking of like the Yankees kind of having this infusion of, energy, what's this like for you? It's daytime.
It's unbelievable.
You're in the studio. It's daytime. You're a normal human being right now talking to me at 10 o'clock in the morning.
It was unbelievable. I actually woke up this morning at 6 a.m. I got a little workout in because I was feeling, I'm home. I'm doing shows in my pajamas.
I know. You keep saying your pants don't fit. I was expecting my 600-pound life to walk in here. You look exactly the same.
Well, thank you. But no, I gained a couple of waist sizes. And I just don't feel comfortable. So I worked out a little bit this morning, got a nice shower in, drove in, took me 2 hours. But still, normally be going to bed at 5 or 6 and waking up groggy, not knowing what day it is, not having energy. It's great.
Welcome to the light, and the living.
Is this what happens during the day? This is nice. I haven't done this shift since I was producing or board hopping for a fill-in shift for Joe and Sid back in the, or Jody Mack and Sid even back in the Astoria days. So it's nice to be here with you.
When you said that, I it was like taking a bullet. Like I couldn't believe that you had A, worked that shift, B, you've worked every single part and every single show with the fan at some point.
I am pretty sure. Well, I started as an intern in 2003, so I'm pretty sure I've worked on in some capacity every single time shift at some point. But I've never hosted this one. I filled in for Boomer and Geo with Jerry.
Right.
I filled in.
That was fun.
I did recently afternoons with Moore. I did a couple of weeks ago, and I think I've done one other afternoon drive shift. Then I've done evenings and of course late night and overnight. But I've never.
Welcome to brunch.
Yeah,
it's a really good spot. It's really good.
I filled in on the midday. This is great.
No, it's really, really fun. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of fun with Sal today. We are going to see if Sal, Ragin' Sal, the man of a million rants, can Sal actually rant about anything? Anything. We're going to put him to the test. Also, I mentioned Sal and I are going to face our fears together. Sal's more of a hypochondriac. I don't really have that. But we have something in common where we have a really debilitating fear of the same exact thing. And I said, we're going to hold hands and walk into the fire together. We are going to face our fears today. We're so glad to have you with us. It's Maggie and Sal today. Moose on vacation, well-deserved. Want to get you started off with some Yankee talk. 877-337-6666. Have your expectations for the Yankees change after all of the additions they made at the trade deadline?